何でしょうか、京羽様。
気持ち悪い。
殴りたい。なぜだろう。やたらこっちを睨んでいる。早めに退散しよう。
応接室で待っているぞ。
Hi there, everyone. Scott and Lars back with another review and analysis for the Apothecary Diaries, brought to you by Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is adventure, it's more fun with friends. And holy cow, the reveals hit hard in this episode, and the stage is set for the climactic final episodes of the season as an empire goes to war.
And I've been waiting for this episode specifically, this reveal, for so freaking long. So if you've been following it with us every week, this is gonna surprise you. But like, finally we find out what's going on with Shisui, which, like, there's been this question the entire time. Is like, who's this really odd, like, servant girl who just happens to know all of this extra stuff she really shouldn't, and has access to stuff she shouldn't, etc., etc. And it just drives you even more crazy when you find out that she got extra servings of the ice cream from that one episode.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah. I did not even consider that.
Yep. She
oh my gosh.
ate it there in the kitchen with Mamo and Xiaolon, and then she ran back to the pavilion, put on her Lulan outfit, and ate the rest of the ice cream.
Oh my gosh. Je suis, curse you! You took more ice cream.
Shisui,
I mean, well,
in
it
that
was meant
case,
for her
is,
anyway.
I know, but like, in that case, Shisui is an evil mastermind, and all I can do is respect. Just all the
Yes.
respect, because like, ice cream is ice cream, and I love me a good ice cream.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, before we dive into the events of this particular episode, we forgot to do this last week. So we're not going to forget this week. There are frogs hidden throughout this video. And make sure that you are the first person to catch all of the hidden frogs, first person to find all the frogs, and comment below with the correct number of frogs will win their very own frog, courtesy of Camille herself. It's going to be grand. Okay, so the events of this episode, we pick up right where we left off last time with Sheme leveling a blade at Kyo and Mao Mao, and it is intense. And not only do we get this feeling of she's ready to go and kill Mao Mao, she is sadistic, and she loves taking out any sort of feelings that she has on Suide, who immediately is just getting backhanded for something that wasn't even really her fault. But Sheme doesn't care. But one of the things that she does care is that she cares that Mao Mao just might happen to have the elixir of immortality, which is a stupid idea planted into her head by Lulan, who, as we've already said, has been acting as Shisui this entire time. So everything starts coming together. Mao Mao realizes, oh my gosh, Shisui has actually been Lulan this whole time. This is the daughter of Sheme, who is this woman who is helping to foment and instigate and lead a rebellion that is going to lead to the deaths of so many innocent people. Gah! What the heck have I been caught up in? But thanks to Lulan stepping in and using a lie that Mao Mao has found this elixir of immortality, that she's actually over 30 years old and only looks like she's in her teens, she is spirited away to the Stronghold, an old castle that, without the Emperor's permission, has been rebuilt and refortified in order to be a castle to withstand a major assault. This will be kind of the last stand area if needs be, also the perfect staging grounds for a large army. In any case, this is a huge, honking, formidable castle where it's not just Mao Mao who is being held captive here, but plenty of others, as we come to realize that everyone involved in this plot, either willingly or against their will, are in some kind of way hostages to Madame Shenmei, including Kyo's mother, who seems to be pretty sick, and we kind of get a better idea now of what it is that his wish might have been that he had written onto his fox mask. And Shenmei is very adamant that she get her special elixir, so that way she will be immortally beautiful. And we get also some interesting conversations going between Mao Mao and Suede, and also seeing a little bit of Lulan's perspective, where, again, it seems as though everyone is kind of being held captive by Shenmei, who had been given over to the rear palace originally and then sent back as a gift. But her husband, who had been elevated, Lord Shiso, had taken on another wife. She was really angry. She cast that woman and her child out, who is now Suede, and her daughter Lulan, bless her heart, despite her upbringing, actually saw her as her own sister and has had a very close relationship with her, despite the fact that they're only half sisters and that her mother is such a cruel and horrible person who abuses Suede in just about every way possible. And we kind of get now a better sense as well from Lulan's perspective about why she even took on the identity of Shisui, is that it gave her the opportunity to kind of be free. She's been used as a pawn by her mother and father all this time, abused in her own right, always trying to be the perfect puppet, as she says, for her mom. And then in the rear palace, despite the rear palace itself being a gilded cage for many of the women, it posed an opportunity for her to be free. And that's what we see in retrospect with all of the adventures with Shisui. And so this episode really puts a lot of things now into a different context while setting up this massive conflict. And the events of the episode round out with us jumping back to the royal palace, where Lahan has been working with Jinshi in order to find all the information necessary to implicate Lord Shiso and the Shi clan as rebels and traitors. And Lacan comes barging on in and outright insults Jinshi to his face, knowing full well that this is the crown prince, and calling him a coward, and be like, where on earth is the army? You are a worthless eunuch. And at that moment, his uncle Loman comes on in and is like, yes, I am quite a sad eunuch, aren't I? Such a brilliant reversal in the conversation, as Loman is able to put his nephew in his place and finally brings Lacan to do the right thing, which is to supplicate the prince, Jinshi, for the use of the army to put down the rebellion. They have all the evidence necessary to do so, but it will require that Jinshi now steps firmly into his role as the prince, because a royal must lead the forbidden army in battle. And we see Jinshi steeling himself to make the fateful decision that will determine the lives and fates of countless thousands of people. And that is where this episode ends.
And such a strong episode in so many different ways, because we're not only getting, I mean, there's a lot of flashbacks in this episode, but it's connecting the dots. And so all of this foreshadowing we've been talking about, we're suddenly getting payoff for it, which is fantastic in and of its own right. but we're also getting some fantastic character growth and like the implications for some of the decisions these characters are making in this episode are long lasting and very important, and like they're like changing the characters as like you see them. um so we're seeing some really interesting stuff. We're finding out that Lulan was like Shisui was Lulan all along, but it also puts Lulan, who we had like almost no actual information of up to this point, into a new light and turning into her into a more like complicated and nuanced, more interesting character overall,
Mhm.
which is awesome. I mean, like, because I read ahead, I already knew all this stuff, but like seeing it finally pay off in the anime is fantastic.
And that just says something also to the strength of the writing of the story
Yes.
overall, that even for someone who knows what's coming up can still just feel the catharsis with these reveals and feel
Mm-hmm.
the excitement of what is happening with these characters, how they're changing and what's going to come.
Right. Oh man, I think I think we should start with Lady Shinmei though, because like I mean, she's already being painted into this like unforgivable villainous character, and yeah, like you were saying before, she's got a very sadistic, like very cruel nature to her, and it like spreads to everyone around her.
Hmm. It's it's really twisted seeing seeing what this woman is. And one of the things that we were talking about before we began recording is that when we go later on in the fortress to Shenmei's chambers, it is easily one of the dirtiest places that we've seen in the anime thus far. And we've seen a whole variety of places. I mean, we've been out to the slums, we've been to the red light district, we've been in ruins, we've seen a room taken over by mold and rot. So I mean, we've seen some dirty stuff. And yet there's something about this room that just feels and looks so perverse. I mean, congratulations to the animators for really capturing this diseased uh sense, like this diseased aura
Mm-hmm.
around this particular villain who, at least in my estimation, is maybe one of the dumbest people that Mao Mao has gone up against. Like, she is actually stupid. The thing that makes her so terrifying is that she is in a position of power that no one can easily remove her from. She knows it and she wields it, and she wields it literally like a cudgel.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes her so dangerous. She's stupid, but she's powerful.
Very, very true. And like you can see the effect she has on everyone around her. Like the only one person this episode that wasn't actually afraid of her in any way was Lulan and um crap, what's her name? The one of the envoy ladies that's there
Mm-hmm.
trading with her. Those are the only two characters who aren't afraid of her. We can definitely see Suide being afraid of her, and Suide's been this like model of like kick ass the entire time we've known her until she's right in front of Lady Shinmei. Um, so like we can definitely tell she's got a lot of power that and it's very intimidating, like, and uses that cruelty to intimidate people. Um, but like she also feels very one note at this time because like it's just her cruelty like that and her like self-obsession that drives her forward. And so even though she may be the villain, she doesn't feel like she's the ultimate villain, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, she
But
she
like
doesn't seem deserving of Mao Mao.
yes, exactly. But like you can't help but feel bad for the people caught under like in her clutches. Like we find out that like possibly the lady that we saw in that dirty room was Kyo's mom, and like you just feel sorry for Kyo. And like we've seen Kyo, like previous episode, he was making a wish on the burning masks and all that, and had something like trying to put his full heart into this wish. And we see a bit of that this episode as he's so desperately trying to see like where his mom is and see if she's doing okay because he misses her. And I'm like, it just breaks your heart. The poor kid. He, Kyo's character has done like a 180 because like when you first see him, he's just this annoying brat, but now like you feel for the kid. Like you, all of this like character building and character progression on Kyo's part is paying off because suddenly, oh, we care a lot about what's happening to this kid. And Mao Mao realizes this episode. She has this full on moment where, oh crap, because like this vassal state is rebelling, they're gonna get squashed. What's gonna happen to these poor kids? What's gonna happen to Kyo? And it's sad. Like it's soul crushing.
Yeah, it's and it becomes even more soul crushing as you take in to consideration who all these other characters are. Like we get to see a more thoughtful and almost innocent side to Suide, which is saying something considering that she's been a part of at least one major assassination attempt.
Mm-hmm.
She's kidnapped Mao Mao. She's helped to orchestrate a lot of the dealings within the rear palace that have led to the deaths of children. So it's like there's a lot of reasons to not like her. And like in many ways, she is a villain, and yet once you see where she comes from, you're like, it makes sense, and you see that in many ways she doesn't like it. The fact that Lulan is not as bloodthirsty and as cruel as her mother is almost miraculous.
Mm-hmm.
That she's someone who can be intelligent, who can be sweet, who has shown that she's even willing to go out of her way to help a young serving girl in Shaolin to find a lesser noblewoman who will take her in as a servant and take care of her.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is something that she absolutely did not have to do whatsoever. But she did, and she did it because I think it's very arguable after this episode that she didn't do it for the entertainment value, but that she did it because it was just the right thing to do. It was the nice thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, Lulan is, like, we're finding out is a more complicated and nuanced character than we realized. Like, there's a lot of payoff coming out now as we're connecting the dots between, like, Lulan and who's always been this kind of, can I say bitch?
Yeah.
Very, very snooty bitch kind of vibe. And Shisui, who's been like super friendly, really quirky, really fun, and like putting the two together, like you find out like there's multiple faces to this character. There's more going on here than we realized. And it makes a very interesting, very powerful character to watch because suddenly like all of our interest is focused on this character. What are they going to do next? And like I think that's going to define what's going to happen going forward.
I can definitely say I can see Lulan betraying her mother at the most optimal moments and just bringing Shenmei down from within if she deems that there's an opportunity, like a solid opportunity for her, because she's a long game gambler. We looking back at it now, it's very clear just how thoughtful and thorough she can be when it comes to planning out even just the smallest of schemes.
I'm gonna hold you to that. Remember what you just said.
All right.
But oh man, such a cool character. But like any of this stuff we're going through, because there's a lot of like flashbacks going on. We're connecting the dots. We're finally like putting all this information to good use. But then the main scene towards the end of the episode, I feel like is my favorite part of this episode, was the conversation between Jinshi, Lacan, and after a certain point, Lo Men. And it is such a powerful scene because there's so many implications to what's going to happen there.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I as the historian wish to bring up is the Forbidden Army itself, because the story doesn't pause to turn to you, wink, and say, "You know what the Forbidden Army is, right?" No, it doesn't. And in many ways, that's actually pretty wise world building, where it's not like, let me pause, let me pause, let me pause, let me pause. It's asking you, the audience, to fill in the gaps, which means that you have to understand some things about how a vassal state works in order to understand why the Forbidden Army is such a huge deal. So for anyone who's all like, but Ginshi doesn't really have to sacrifice anything. He can like go around masked like he normally is because, oh, burns. And he doesn't have to give away his identity whatsoever. Why is this such a big deal? It's a big deal because they are going to war. There is no timetable that you can hold yourself to in order to complete a war. You can go into almost any conflict in recorded history and see that things do not go the way that you expect, and often they take way longer. So Jinshi, the eunuch who is supposed to be there overseeing the rear palace, will be gone for a very long time. He will be amongst many nobles and many soldiers. The chances of him being discovered are going to skyrocket, and he has to be the one to command this army, because in a vassal state, it's agreed upon that all the vassals will serve the king or the emperor, give the taxes, give the necessary manpower for conflicts and whatnot, and in exchange they receive a certain amount of autonomy. And Lord Shiso, coming from the most powerful and most wealthy province, has immense autonomy, and this means that he's got way more resources, he's got way more people, he's got way more connections with the Western countries. This will require a marshaling of all the other vassal states to bring their best soldiers and their worst intent together. This is going to be a campaign of extermination. And in nearly every vassal state history where something like this has happened, you don't send out the king because of the risk, because it's going to be so brutal and personal. You send the prince, you send the duke, who is the uncle, you send one of the most trusted family members that you can. That is who leads these forces. Very, very rarely does the king ever come out personally, because of all the risks involved in a campaign like this, which is why Jinshi has to be the one. And as we've seen also throughout the show, he is the executor of so many laws and commands. He would be the one through whom this request would go through to raise the Forbidden Army, to bring together all of the vassal lords to crush Lord Shiso, which also again would expose him and his position. So that's what Jinshi is facing. This is a monumental ask of any royal, of any kingdom, to go to this extent, and he cannot hide. Sure, he's probably going to mask his face still, is my guess, but his absence will be noticed. Jinshi will be gone, and anyone with half a brain, even Shenmei, would be able to connect the dots and realize that Jinshi is the prince after this.
Yeah. Well, but like, I love how at the end of the episode there isn't there's like no hesitation on Jinshi's like face or like anything else. Like, you can see he's very much aware of what's going to happen from here on. But he's not going to hide from it. He's done hiding. He's got something important to him he needs to like to save. He needs to go save Mao Mao, and this is how he needs to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just a super powerful scene. I mean, we get all of the stuff going on with the Da clan going on, like Lacan and Lahan and Nomen, like their interactions with each other, and like that's all like politicking. That's all like the characters like interacting with each other. But the persons whose decision matters the most is Jinshi's, and we see Jinshi make that decision at the end of this episode, and it is so well done.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It gives you like those good shivers, like whoo,
Mm-hmm.
something big has just happened.
Oh, yeah.
There's actually something that I feel like we've kind of skirted over that we probably should come back to, because since Jinshi is stepping into his role firmly as the prince, is that in this episode we again get Mao Mao skirting on the truth of what is going on, and again stepping back. And it's hilarious and frustrating how she's like, oh, the power of Bezors, they're just too much, I say, that she could not pay attention. And so again, her willingness to not get involved in things that are going to be very dangerous to her. We see that again on full display, which I mean, someone's going to say, well, contradictory. Didn't she stupidly get caught in the last episode? Yes, she did. She was testing the boundaries. She thought she was mostly safe with Kyo on her side. She didn't think she was going to get caught that time around. In this episode, she is walking the straight and narrow. She is not trying anything devious at all, because she knows how close she is to destruction, to death. And so this episode I think really brings together those contradictory pieces of Mao Mao, and again reveals to us that she's a very nuanced character, and there's a lot of those weird survival instincts baked into her, which get in the way of her being the kind of person that she probably should be.
I'm just gonna say yes, but just keep watching, because there's other parts of Mao Mao that surface when like somebody she cares about's in danger. And we've seen that with like Mao Mao trying to save Jinshi at that ceremony in season 1, or trying to save Xiaolan, or you get the idea. And so there's a very real chance something's gonna happen that's gonna put her in danger along those lines.
That'll be interesting to see, because who is it? I mean, other than the people outside of the fortress, outside of the stronghold, is there anyone within the stronghold that she would at this point value enough to put herself at risk for?
I mean, there's one, at least. But that's the next episode. Like I know it's gonna happen next episode. I'm sure it's in next episode after what I saw of
For
the
preview?
episode preview. Yep.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
next episode's gonna be, it's gonna be a bit of a ride, because there's gonna be a lot going on. There's gonna be a lot more action than this episode at the very least. But it's gonna go from like, oh crap, now what, to hilarious very quickly. That's my only giveaway for what's gonna happen next episode. I'm so looking forward to seeing that.
So, with all that being said, we're looking forward to the next episode with much anticipation, and we are also greatly anticipating your thoughts on this episode. Please sound off in the comments below, not just with the correct number of frogs in order to win your own specially illustrated frog from Camille, but also, tell us what you thought of this episode. Is there anything that we missed, anything that you think that we got wrong? We want to hear from you. And we also would absolutely love it if you would support us by subscribing if you haven't already done so, and checking out the books that we have published. Links for them are in the description below. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible adventure that we call writing. And until the next video, y'all, if you find yourselves stuck in a situation with a very grouchy, murderous grandma, just promise her the solution and potion to immortality, and all will be well with you. Tschüss.
Ogini.